To our Wednesday night class. I am not Barry, as you could probably tell, because Barry would be prepared. So, in all transparency, Nelson told me about this Sunday, and we talked about it. But we're gonna have a good class, and we're gonna talk about the shared goals that every Christian should have, or Christians should have, whether that be in the workplace, whether it's with our friends, our family, in church. Our goals are our goals. I'm trying to get this new fandangled mic straight. Joe's up there giving me a thumbs up. I'm trying to get the so it doesn't feel like a crown. So before we jump into the goals of Christians, what do we have as far as prayer requests go? We have several on the prayer list. Miss Bonnie, I know. Anybody have an update on how she's doing? Okay. All right. Is she still in rehab or okay at Princeton? Brookwood. Okay. All right. Any other prayer requests? Okay. Okay. So what's her name? June Peppers. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Paul? Yep. Melly Gilliland. Okay. Sure. Okay. All right. Definitely keep them in your prayers. Yeah. That's a tough disease to live with. Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, not pleasant. A guy I work with, his name's Jerry Lewis. He's actually from Jasper. I don't know if anybody remembers that name of those from Jasper, but Jerry's been with our company for 25 years or so. You know Jerry? Okay. Well, he had a stroke early Monday morning. So they rushed him to Coleman. Had sepsis around his heart, so fortunately they started him on antibiotics, and there was a stroke in the back of the brain, but he was put on a vent. But last I heard this afternoon, we're going to wean him off the vent. So things are looking better for him than what they were Monday morning sometime. Oh, congratulations. Twin boys, great grandbabies. Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. Which hospital are they in? In Mobile? Okay. All right. Well, congratulations. Okay. Great. Wow. That's awesome. That is awesome. John, I'm sorry, Kim. Okay. Okay. Wow. Larson Plyler. Okay. All right. Definitely keep him in your prayers. John, would you mind starting us with a prayer?
Let us pray. Our Heavenly gracious Father, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for the blessings you bestow upon us all. For those who have been mentioned here this evening, we ask you to be with them, to comfort them, to give them peace beyond anything we could ever understand. We ask you for the nurses and the doctors that are treating them, and we ask them to be there for them and watch over them. But most of all, we ask you to watch over them. Lord, we just thank you for that. We thank you for the opportunity to pray and pray for them. We thank you for this teaching that we're about to receive. We ask you to pierce our hearts and use for your kingdom. Most of all, we thank you for your Son who died for us, and without his death, his burial, his resurrection, we would never have eternal peace and eternal life with you. So thank you for all those things in Jesus' name.
Amen. So what got me thinking about using this topic tonight was Sunday's Bible school class here in the auditorium. And we were talking about, as Christians, we're not necessarily supposed to be, in this world. We're in the world, we're just not of the world. And what we're supposed to do to grow our faith. How do we go about that? So me being in HR, so I get on the outside of that. I'm more on the recruiting side, but still working with our employees, how we can become better. So as Christians, we grow our faith. How can we become, have a deeper faith? How do we go about doing that? And in the HR world, we like to say, okay, at the beginning of the year, the performance evaluations. How did you do last year? What goals did you set? Did you reach those goals? If you didn't, what happened to keep you from reaching those goals? And then we'll look at what we did as far as our performance, our progress. And some of you may be familiar with this concept if you've ever had to go through performance evaluations or conduct performance evaluations. So we'll sit down with the employee and say, okay, here are some things you need to work on. And you'll kind of list those out, the tasks that they're supposed to perform at their job. And these are the tasks you're supposed to do. Here are kind of the measurements of how we identify success in your role. And what can we do this next year to help you become a better employee? So I look at that as a kind of as a whole to say, okay, so what do I need to do as a Christian to be better? So this is where we get into the stretch goal setting. You want to set a goal that you may think it's hard to attain. Maybe I want to talk to 50 people this next year to see how many I can invite to church. And maybe this is something we look at as a congregation. Maybe we start setting goals as a congregation of how many Bible correspondence courses can we set up? How many invitations do we send out to the community when we're having an event? One of the things I do is quote unquote marketing for the church is when Lauren puts up a post on Facebook, and then I'll take that post and I'll put some dollars behind it to increase our advertising spend so more people see that. And then we'll go back and look at the numbers of how many people it reached, how many people saw that post. For example, the VBS post that we just did, or Lauren just did, that I put some dollars behind. I believe it reached somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 people saw that on their screen. So they saw that East Walker Church of Christ was conducting a VBS. Here are the times. How many people could that impact? So 2,500 people saw it. We're still trying to gather some data on, how many actually showed up because they saw the post. But that's just one of those ways. It's setting a measurement. It's setting an identified goal that you can try to attain. So maybe it's inviting 100 people to church, in the next 3 months. We do a great job with the card ministry. Monday with the master. Love that, because that's going out to so many people that we need to touch. And that's something we need to look at, is how many more people can we reach? I'm going to get a list of names and addresses in the Dora, Summerton, Jasper market, and we will put together an outreach campaign, whether it be just little postcards, to again try to reach more Christians. And that's part of this whole goal setting. Now I realize that's more as a church dynamic. So let's talk a little bit about shared goals. So there's a story. One time when Michigan State was playing UCLA in football, score was tied with only 14 seconds left to play. This guy named Duffy Daugherty, Michigan State's coach, sent in a place kicker, Dave Kaiser, who booted a field goal that won the game. When the kicker returned to the bench, Daugherty said, "Nice going, but why didn't you watch the ball after you kicked it?" "Well, coach," and everybody knows kickers, the kicker replied, "I was watching the referee to see the signal he gave because I forgot my contact lenses and I couldn't see the goalposts." How happy do you think that coach was that his kicker could not see the goalposts? McClendon, has that ever happened? Okay. All right. So whether we're talking about football or life, it's always best to be able to see that goal and know the goal that we're shooting for. So periodically we all need to step back and do some self-analysis and make sure that we have our goals set, stretch goals, and doing a self-assessment. Am I doing everything I can to bring people to the Lord's church? So how can we please God if we don't remind ourselves about God's expectation for each of us? How can we move forward together as a church if we don't hold each other accountable? If we don't review what we're all about every once in a while? Accountability is a big thing in the workplace at NHS. We have all kinds of measurements. We look at our nursing home census on a daily basis, because census equals dollars in our world. So if we don't have dollars, we can't operate. We can't take care of our residents. And we also look at our staffing metrics. If we don't have staff to take care of the residents, then we're not living up to our mission statement, which says we have to do what we have to do to take care of our residents each and every day. Not only is it a revenue stream, it's also the compassion within ourselves. I mean, it's why we do what we do. So let's kind of look at some of these goals. Somebody turn to Hebrews chapter 11 and starting in verse 1. Hebrews 11 and verse 1. And if somebody will read that as soon as they get there.
Things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Okay. So read verse 6.
Verse 6.
Yep.
But without faith it is impossible to please him.
So, what's the cornerstone of our belief system? It's faith, right? So if we don't have faith and we don't believe wholeheartedly, are we committed as a Christian? If we don't have the faith in God, in the plan of salvation, why are we doing what we do? So you got to have that faith, and it's got to be a committed faith, wholeheartedly, before you can start to set any more goals, because that's the cornerstone, right? Ryan, you look like you want to say something. Go ahead, Miss Connie. It does. Absolutely does. No, you good? Okay.
You're making my devotional shorter and shorter.
Oh, my bad. I should have probably called you. So our faith has to be unconditional. It has to be deep, because that's the cornerstone of our belief system and how we grow as Christians. And we grow our faith by continuing to study, to be around other Christians. How many people do you know that have grown as an individual to be some superstar? And this could be sports, it could be business, it could be whatever. How many individuals do you know that were single, solitary individuals that stayed away from everybody else, that were able to grow and be successful in what they do? No. You gotta have your brothers and sisters to help you grow in your faith and your knowledge. So that's the first goal. Your faith has to be deep, and you have to trust your faith wholeheartedly. Any comments on faith as the cornerstone? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
If you're diligently seeking Him, a lot of those goals will happen. And if there's like you do it the same.
yeah,
If you diligently seek something, truly be focused.
right.
Task at hand.
Yeah. That's like when you shoot a duck across the field. You got your eyes on it, you're going to get that duck, right? Yes. Yes, you are. Mm-hmm. Yes. No. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 You have to be in that frame of mind. Almost it hurts me to use this phrase, but Gus Malzahn said, you got to be all in, right? That just hurts so bad. That's I'll go forward. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, yeah, that's the ultimate goal, and I think that's actually the end goal of this lesson. So I think we're done. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Right. Kind of. Yeah. Kind of goes back to the team concept, right? You know, we as a congregation, and John's point was that we continue to strive for the goals. We may not reach those goals all the time. We may get discouraged. So to just follow on to that, we have the body, we have our fellow members in Christ, that when we do fail, we're there to pick that person up. Or if I fail, I've got Glenn that can pick me up, give me some encouragement. Paul Creel gives me some encouragement. My wife, Daly, gives me encouragement. Yes, sir. I'm not going to say anything. We'll skip right over that. So again, it's being all in our faith. So there was this guy named Nick Wallenda. Anybody heard that name? Nick Wallenda. Tightrope walker. Yeah. So he walked across Niagara Falls on a tightrope to be the first person to walk on a tightrope. 1,800 feet, that's how long it was, across the mist-fogged brink of the roaring Niagara Falls. Can you even imagine what that dude was going through? Has anybody been to Niagara Falls? I haven't. Got a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6. How was it? You go out on the ferry boat up to the Maid of the Mist. Roaring, loud, just unbelievable noise. So Nick's going across this tightrope, and about a dozen others have tried to cross the Niagara downstream. No one had ever walked directly over the falls. This was the first guy to do it. So there's another guy, 1859, this guy named Blondin, went to Niagara Falls, put on a 3-day show, stretched a long steel cable across the gorge. He performed without a safety net, even in the strong winds. He walked across, ran across, even danced across, to the amazement of the crowd. He took a wheelbarrow full of bricks and effortlessly pushed it across the road, across the gorge from one side to the other. This guy Blondin turned to the crowd and asked, "How many of you believe that I could push the wheelbarrow? How many of you believe that I could push this wheelbarrow across with a man in it?" Everybody cheered, held their hands high, said, "Who's going to step forward and get in the wheelbarrow?" It's one thing to say you believe the tightroper can do it. It's something else when you have to trust him with your life. How many of us are in that wheelbarrow with Jesus pushing us across the gorge? It's a tough question to answer. We better be. Again, that goes back to that whole, our faith has to be the cornerstone, and it has to be strong, and we have to trust in the Lord that in the end, that end goal, we're going to be all right. Love those text messages. So a second shared goal is worshiping regularly. So help me define worship. What's worship? Okay. How often are we supposed to worship? It's a good answer. What do we have a set day and time that we're supposed to worship? We have a set day. Or set days. The elders here have set aside times for us to gather with the saints, right? I may step on some toes here, but I think I'm in pretty good company with the Wednesday night crowd. How many do we have at worship on Sunday mornings? Oh, we had a big house full. I think Barry and Deborah's family filled up half the church, but round about 130 or so is what our normal attendance is. How many were here Sunday night? $70? 75, maybe 80, if we're lucky. How many are here tonight? 40? And there are some folks up in the young professionals, but we might get 50 if we're lucky. So if this goal of worshiping regularly, when we have set times that we come together, I think pretty much everybody knows what time we meet, right? 9:30 for Sunday school, 10:30 for worship, 5 o'clock Sunday night, 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights. This is a time for us to come together as a group of Christians and edify each other, build each other up, learn. We grow our faith. So if we're not worshiping together regularly, we're missing out, honestly. If I showed up at my job 50% of the time, I'll just say, well, let's go 40% because you got Sunday school, then you got worship, then you got Sunday night service, then you got Wednesday night service. But if I only showed up for worship, so that's 25% if we're breaking it down in quarters. If I showed up for worship only, or if I showed up for my job just 25% of the time, would I continually to see that bi-weekly stipend deposited in my bank account so I can pay my mortgage and feed my family? I can tell you right now, if my recruiters only work 25% of the time, I would find new recruiters. Is 50% acceptable? $75%? Now you're getting into the C minus, C plus category. Pretty good. What's it take to reach that end goal? Are you giving 100%? I try. So definitely something to think about. Hebrews 10, verses 24 and 25. Somebody check that one out for me. Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. Let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. Edification, building each other up, helping each other reach those goals. English Standard Version has a pretty good translation here. It says, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, all the more as you see the day drawing near. That word neglect, that's a pretty strong word. If you neglect something, what are you doing? If it's something you love and you neglect it. Yep. End goal. But if you neglect worshiping with the saints, if you forsake the assembly, is that helping you reach your goal? Absolutely not. You're off the path. Your Google Maps is wrong. Yes, they do that. They don't like to hear, well, if I go to church, it feels forced. Maybe I don't like those people. Find another church. Go to a church. Church of Christ, that you get along with people there. Find where they're going to use your talents so you can grow. You can hit those stretch goals. If you're sitting in the pew and you're miserable, is that where you want to be? I think everybody just has a disposition to be somewhat happy in this life. But you got to assemble with the saints in order to grow. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Jerry Jenkins used to use the phrase at camp when we would gather for worship. God is the audience, and we're doing what we can to please Him. And if you're not doing what you need to do in worship, then you're not pleasing God, and that's what He's asked us to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Third shared goal is fellowshipping devoutly. Now, I love our Sunday after church meals. I'm trying to slim down a little bit. Lost 10 pounds. Getting better. But I absolutely love our fellowship meals because we get to sit around and we talk, and you learn so much more about folks when you're sitting there talking to them and you find out what makes them tick and what interests them. And the men's retreat, great time. Learned so much about guys that, you know, I may have never had a deep conversation with, or, you know, just in passing. Hey, glad to see you. Glad you came to church this morning. But I mean, we were captive on a boat for 10 hours out in the Gulf. But it was a great time. A lot of talking, a lot of carrying on. So that fellowship is a key component of helping us grow. And that was the second bell, right? So they'll be in here in just a second. Probably the best illustration I can give in the Bible to wrap this up was when Jesus called Peter out of the boat. I hope that's not one of your. Okay, good. Called Peter out of the boat and said, "Come to me." Peter gets out, starts walking. Well, what happened? He took his eyes off Jesus, and he started sinking. Don't think he had a life jacket on, so he started to panic. But then what happened? Absolutely. Peter had to reach for that hand, didn't he? So, there you go. You keep your eyes on Jesus, and it makes that goal a whole lot easier to reach. And that's the only way you can do it. So you got to reach that hand out. So thank you for your attention tonight. I appreciate your comments. Any other comments before we dismiss? No? Well, thanks again.